Mangwanani Malelepo Vukenjani Dumelang Manave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show that remains your portal into Africa's most potent stories. These are some of the updates that we'll be looking at this morning. Edgar Lungu's body dispute continues as court intervenes, and we'll also have a special report from Mike Sichula to that regard. Botswana and Zimbabwe strengthen ties at binational commission. South Africa police chief suspended over health contract case. East Africa refinery plan gains momentum with regional backing. President Nandi-Ndaitwah of Namibia engages fishing industry in Walvis Bay. And this is particularly significant considering the amount of controversy that has shrouded the fishing industry of Namibia, with one of its former ministers currently in prison awaiting trial. This is Africa Good Morning. Top stories shortly.
Namibia is a land of movement, with waves that never stop reaching forward. Here, adventure is not something we search for. It is something we are born into. In every corner of this country, creativity rises, from artists, from athletes, from dreamers. And when the world comes to explore Namibia, they discover something extraordinary. Because when sport moves people, creativity moves ideas, and tourism moves the world toward us. Something powerful happens. A platform where movement meets imagination, where industries connect, where opportunity grows, where Namibia's next chapter begins. Welcome to the Creative Sport Tourism Expo. Exhibit, partner, experience. Creative sport tourism.
All right, let's get into our top stories. Former Zambian President Edgar Chagwa Lungu died on June 5, 2025 in Pretoria, South Africa, and his body has remained unburied for nearly 11 months due to a dispute between his family and the Zambian government under President Hakainde Hichilema. Now, the family prefers a private burial, while the government insists on repatriation for a state funeral. On April 22, and 23, 2026, this week, the government took possession of the body from Two Mountains Funeral Services to enforce a court order, but a South African court later ordered its return to the family. Reports also mention police seeking access for DNA testing as part of a poisoning investigation. Here is Africa Good Morning correspondent Mike Sichula with more details from Lusaka, Zambia.
Thank you very much for having me. Yes, the state of affairs is as what has been reported in various media houses following Wednesday's turn of events, where the nation was informed by Attorney General Mr. Muliro Kabesha that the government of Zambia was in custody of the remains of Dr. Lungu, who died on the 5th of June in South Africa. As you may recall, in August last year, the South African High Court delivered a ruling in which it told the Lungu family that they were not supposed to keep the body of Mr. Lungu because Mr. Lungu was a former president, and the Zambian government had all the rights to have the body so that Mr. Lungu can be given a befitting funeral as a former head of state. However, on Wednesday evening, Mr. Makebi Zulu, the family spokesperson, told the nation that whatever has happened has been reversed by the High Court court order that demanded and directed the South African government and the Zambian government to hand over the body to the Lungu family, and this body to be returned to two mountains, a private mortuary where the body of Mr. Lungu has been kept for the last 9 months. However, we have also been told that the mortuary has indicated to the Lungu family that if the decision that has been made by the Supreme Court is final, the Lungu family should not return the body to their mortuary. They must find an alternative. Then yesterday again, Mr. Makebi Zulu left Zambia for South Africa, and when he was interviewed at Kenneth Kaunda International Airport, he indicated that he was flying to South Africa to ensure that the South African government and the Zambian government respect the order that has been issued by the Supreme Court, restraining them from keeping the remains of Dr. Lungu. So one thing that also our viewers need to know is that there has been talk in Zambia where the Zambian government has been insisting and pushing that Mr. Lungu should be buried before the 5th of June 2026, and also before Zambia heads to the elections on August 13th, 2026. Then aside that, something that also has happened which the government has not explained is President Hakainde Hichilema was due to officiate at a national event in Luapula province at what is being called the Luapula Expo. But we have been told that that event, or President Hakainde Hichilema has cancelled that event, and people now are speculating as to why President Hakainde Hichilema has cancelled. Is it because of the turn of events surrounding the remains of Dr. Lungu? So these are some of the things that we are yet to be updated, and we're hoping that in the coming days something concrete is going to come with regard the remains of Dr. Edgar Lungu. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you very much, Mike Sichula, for delivering that comprehensive report with regards to the controversy surrounding the burial of Edgar Chagwa Lungu, Zambia's former president, who died in June last year and is yet to be buried. We now move over to Zambia's neighbors, Botswana and Zimbabwe. The 5th session of the Botswana-Zimbabwe Binational Commission was held in Harare this week, co-chaired by the Botswana President Advocate Duma Gideon Boko and Zimbabwean President Emmerson Mnangagwa. Now, President Boko was on a 3-day visit with senior officials and ministerial meetings preceding the presidential session from around 19 to 21 April. The leaders witnessed the signing of 7 or more bilateral agreements covering defense cooperation, police collaboration to combat livestock theft and cross-border crimes, immigration cooperation, prisons and correctional services, aeronautical search and rescue, civil aircraft investigations, and promotion of MSMEs, trade and investment. Discussions focused on economic complementarity, trade, agriculture, energy, infrastructure, tourism, health, education, defense, and regional security. Both sides committed to a twin-pillar strategy of economic cooperation and political engagement. Now, they reaffirmed friendship, policy, harmonization, and implementation of commitments. The session concluded successfully, with President Boko also opening the 66th Zimbabwe International Trade Fair, which was held in Bulawayo. Here is the president of Botswana, Advocate Duma Gideon Boko.
We live in a fluid, very dangerous world now. World of uncertainty. World of might being right, where the international legal order is being subverted every day and disorder is normalized and given the imprimatur of authority. We face these challenges, and sometimes as African countries we think we are helpless. We are not. We hold some of the aces. In fact, we hold some of the most important aspects needed for this world to survive. We are endowed with natural resources. The African continent is rich, by far the richest continent on the face of the earth. It has young people. The median age, the average population is 19 years, 3 months on the African continent. A continent of 1.4 billion people, over 60% of them being young people, full of youthful energy, marauding, bristling with purpose. And we are a poor continent? No, we cannot be. And we have natural resources in staggering abundance and variety. How can we be poor? And how can we go out to the world as beggars, as weaklings, asking them to give us a seat at the table at the United Nations? No, we must break into that organization and claim our seat at the head of the table. I make these remarks forcefully and evocatively because they must represent the new thinking, the new Chimurenga across the breadth and dimensions of the African continent. And so, we are here to continue to mark the steps, to chart a course, to script a new and refreshingly different, defiant, powerful narrative for Africa.
All right. Powerful message there from President Gideon Boko of Botswana. Now, we move to South Africa, where the President Cyril Ramaphosa has placed National Police Commissioner General Fannie Masemola on precautionary suspension after he was charged in court in connection with a controversial $21 million health contract. Masemola, aged 62, is accused of failing in oversight duties linked to the awarding of the contract, which has since been cancelled and is under criminal investigation. He faces charges under the Public Finance Management Act, which governs how public funds are spent. Masemola denied the charges, stating he is not guilty and that the law must take its course. Now, he becomes the third South African police chief to face a criminal investigation while in office. Ramaphosa said the suspension reflects the seriousness of the charges and the importance of the commissioner's role. Lieutenant General Puleng Dimpane, the police service's chief financial officer, was named as replacement. Now, East African countries are discussing plans for a joint oil refinery at Tanzania's port of Tanga, modeled on Nigeria's Dangote refinery, according to Kenyan President William Ruto. The region currently imports all refined petroleum products, mainly from the Middle East, exposing it to supply disruptions and price increases. Ruto said the refinery would process oil from the Democratic Republic of Congo, Kenya, South Sudan, and Uganda, positioning it as a shared regional project. Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote, who attended the conference, said he would replicate his 650,000 barrel per day Nigerian refinery in East Africa if governments support the initiative with a proposed timeline of 4 to 5 years. Uganda has also announced plans to build a refinery, including a 2024 agreement with Alpha MBM Investments for a 60,000 barrel per day plant. Dangote added he plans to establish about 20 fertilizer blending plants across Africa by 2028 and encouraged African investors to participate, saying dividends would be paid in dollars. Now here, President William Ruto speaks on shared investment pipelines with regards to the refineries.
Kenya Pipeline, because we wanted to unlock the value of Kenya Pipeline and use it for the transformation of the country. President Museveni called me and said, I want to buy 50% of Kenya Pipeline. And he told me, I don't care the price. You know, that's how serious he was. When some other pessimists in Kenya were saying, oh, you know, the price is very high, I don't know. You know, President Museveni could see beyond the price. He could see the opportunity of transforming our nation, our region together. Mzee, I want to assure you that the same way you invested in Kenya Pipeline, Kenya is going to invest in your refinery and in the future of our resources together. And hopefully we can bring all the other countries in our region to see the value, not in the short-term benefit you get from something cheap from somewhere else, but in the benefit of building something for the future that will not only earn you money today, but earn you opportunities tomorrow. I run the risk of monopolizing this meeting, and it is not my intention to do so, and I don't want to spoil things for AFC.
That footage, much like the following footage, is courtesy of the Uganda Broadcasting Corporation. Now, President Yoweri Museveni highlighted the profitability of a refinery in Uganda.
Now, on the issue of petroleum, we found it long ago, 2005. But up to now, it's now about to come out of the ground. What was the reason? Disagreeing with the oil companies, Total. They were telling my people who would tell me, refineries don't make money. Yeah, they don't make money. How about the ones who build them? Why do they build them? Then when I checked, the refinery in Uganda actually is very, very profitable. Do we have somebody from that sector? From energy? Do we have somebody here? Minister, do you remember the internal rate of return? Huh? 14. You will confirm, or you're going to confirm. The internal rate of return is very high of the refinery in Uganda. So, but because I'm also tactical, because the Total were insisting that they should take all the oil. Why do you take the oil? The users are here. Why do you take it? So, no, there's no money in the refinery. I said, no, you are lying. Now, eventually we agreed that we build a small refinery of 60,000 barrels per day. What do you call this? You build, then you add on. There's a way they say it in English. You build one unit, then you add on. Add on another 60,000, and that my refinery would have first score on the oil, and then the balance you can export through Tanzania. Fine. Now recently, and then that ECOP, it's now called ECOP, East African Pipeline. Later on, we could see that people of Congo could use it if they want, because there's some oil there on the other side. People in South Sudan can use it, because they have got oil there. Now, this oil of the Calabat is one of the 5 provinces. We have got 4 other provinces of oil. This is just one of them.
Those have been our top stories on Africa. Good morning. Let's have a look at the weather before we return with a special report courtesy of the Namibian presidency with regards to the president's visit to Walvis Bay, talking to the fishing sector. Now, President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah described Namibia's fishing industry as a strategic national asset during an engagement in Walvis Bay, emphasizing the need for sustainable management for the benefit of all citizens. Here is a visual report courtesy of the Namibian Presidency media team.
The 8th administration has a responsibility to oversee the implementation of NDP 6 that is informed by the SWAPO Party Election Manifesto 2025-2030. NDP 6 is our roadmap to the finalization of Vision 2030. One of our key economic enablers is the fishing industry. As the executive or the government, we are here to get first-hand information from industry's main role players, namely company executives and workers' representatives. Your inputs will help us on how we can carry the industry forward. Therefore, it's a pleasure to join all of you here today to address in this important engagement where we are addressing one of our key national development agenda items, particularly the fishing industry. The fishing industry remains one of the key and priority sectors of our economy and a strategic national asset that should be sustainably managed and developed for the benefit of all Namibians. I was happy to listen to our governor, who spoke on behalf of the residents of this region, more particularly the role player, your commitment to ensure that this industry continue to play its role in our economic advancement. Resources drained through our fishing sector, we know it provides employment, skills, income, foreign exchange earnings, and nutrition, thereby contributing towards food and nutrition security for our country. We are here today in Walvis Bay, one of the important economic growth points of Namibia, for deliberate and sincere engagement with the role players in the fishing industry.
All right. An industry that without a doubt needs that reassurance from the highest office. DSTV 285, GOTV 285, oneup2.com, Network Media Hub, and NTVAFRIKA.MY.NA is where you've been watching us all week, and that is where we will stay. We come back on Monday as Mike Sichula delivers the Zambia report, whilst, as always, we go through the stories from broader Africa. The weekend is ahead of us. Enjoy it responsibly, and we'll see you soon. Swera Zvakanaka.